Her name is Marta Weiss. Before the war, she taught piano to children in Budapest, and on Friday afternoons her mother's apartment smelled like bread. She was 23 when the Hungarian deportations began in the spring of 1944. She has been inside Auschwitz-Birkenau for 6 weeks. That already makes her one of the lucky ones. This is her day. 3:30 a.m. Not so much waking up as surfacing. Sleep here is not sleep. It is unconsciousness interrupted constantly by cold, noise, and pain, something the body does out of necessity rather than rest. Marta shares a wooden bunk with 4 other women. It was built for 2. There is no mattress, just a sack that once held straw, now mostly flat and rotted. The boards press against her hip bones with every small movement, and she has lost enough weight in 6 weeks that there is nothing left between bone and wood. Above her, 6 more women are packed into an identical bunk. The whole structure groans through the night. The barrack holds over 500 people. The smell is total, unwashed bodies, disease, the overflowing latrines at the far end of the building, and beneath all of it, a faint sweetness that she has learned is the smell of mass starvation. When she arrived, it was unbearable. Now she simply no longer notices it, which is its own kind of horror. Lice have kept her up since 2. They are in her hair, her clothing, the seams of everything she owns. You cannot eliminate them. You scratch and wait for morning. At 3:30, the block elder, a prisoner herself, assigned small privileges in exchange for keeping order, walks the length of the barrack shouting. Some mornings there is a whistle, some mornings a stick. The message is always the same: move. Marta swings her legs off the bunk and puts her shoes on before she does anything else, before she is even fully awake. This is the first thing Auschwitz teaches you, and it teaches it fast. Shoes are not footwear here. Shoes are the difference between a prisoner who survives a Polish winter and one who doesn't. You never leave them unattended. You sleep with them if you have to. She does. 4 a.m. The washroom. Hundreds of women push toward the communal washroom in the dark. The building is concrete, the faucets run ice cold, and everyone has a few minutes before roll call. In January, the pipes freeze entirely. This morning there is water, which counts as good fortune. Marta gets 40 seconds at a faucet. She splashes her face, her hands, nothing more. There is no soap, she has not held soap in weeks, and no towels, so she dries her hands on her jacket. The small absurdity of that motion, wiping hands on the only piece of clothing she owns, no longer registers. It matters more than it seems. The inability to wash. Skin breaks down quickly, small cuts become infected, and infections in Auschwitz, where real medical care exists only on paper, have a way of becoming death sentences. From there, the latrine building. A long wooden board with holes cut into it over an open pit. No dividers, no privacy. Hundreds of women. A guard at the entrance. Prisoners are permitted 1 supervised trip in the morning and 1 in the evening. Going outside those times requires permission, which is rarely given and sometimes answered with a beating. Many women have developed severe dysentery from the food, or from what passes for food. And the combination of that and the rigid schedule and the total absence of dignity is something survivors return to in their testimonies more consistently than almost anything else. Not the selections, not the violence, the toilets, the daily grinding erasure of personhood in the smallest possible way. Marta has 4 minutes. She moves quickly and does not look at the guard. 5 a.m. Roll call. The German word is Appell, and Marta has now stood through 42 of them. Prisoners assemble outside in rows of 5 and stand completely still while SS guards count them against the records. Every number must match. If someone has died in the night and the body hasn't been found, if a prisoner has been transferred and the paperwork hasn't caught up, any discrepancy at all, everyone remains standing until it resolves. The dead are counted alongside the living. Auschwitz needs its numbers to balance. This morning it takes 2 hours. Nobody tells Marta why. The sun is not up, the ground is frozen and slick with mud, and she is wearing a prisoner's dress and a jacket that was inadequate for this weather the day she received it. The woman to her left is ill. Marta can hear it in her breathing, a wet labored sound the woman is working hard to suppress, because a prisoner who collapses during roll call gets noted. Being noted leads to things Marta does not want to think about at 5 a.m. in the dark. There's a technique for standing still. An older prisoner taught it to her in the first week. Weight centered, knees soft, eyes forward, mind somewhere else entirely. Marta thinks about her mother's kitchen. The specific yellow light, the count resolves. The guards move on. 7 a.m. Breakfast. The cup she receives contains a hot dark liquid the Nazis label coffee. It is not coffee. Roasted grain, chicory, sometimes nothing she can identify. But it is hot, which is its only real function, and she drinks it without lowering the cup until it is empty. Some mornings there is also bread, 200 grams at most, often stale, occasionally showing mold at the edges. Every crumb disappears. She considers saving a piece for later, weighs it against the risk of theft, and decides to eat it now. Food stolen from you in the barracks is food gone. The total caloric value of what she has just consumed is perhaps 350 calories. She will do 8 hours of heavy physical labor today. 7:30 a.m. Work detail. Prisoners march to assignments in formation, and at the gate, an orchestra plays. This is one of the facts about Auschwitz that people struggle to believe until they encounter the documentation. A prisoner orchestra, inmates selected for their musical ability, given marginally better conditions in exchange for their performances, stands at the gate every morning and every evening and plays marching music so the columns file out in step. In all weather, every day. Marta passes them without looking. She doesn't know what to feel about the musicians and has stopped trying to decide. They are alive because they can play. She is alive because a guard 6 weeks ago pointed her right, instead of left, at a platform she had just stepped off a cattle car onto. Stiff-legged and disoriented, after 4 days without water, she did not understand what the gesture meant at the time. She understands now. Her work detail today is construction, drainage ditches on the outer edge of the camp, tools that are shovels and pickaxes, ground that is partially frozen. The guard overseeing the section is an SS man in his 30s who walks the perimeter and shouts. Last week he struck a woman for working too slowly. The woman had been running a fever for 3 days, which she had told no one, because the infirmary at Birkenau is not somewhere prisoners go to recover. It is where they go to be evaluated. An evaluation in Auschwitz can mean many things: removal from the labor force, transfer to facilities she does not want to be transferred to, or in the worst cases, becoming a subject of procedures that are never fully explained and never consented to. The woman hid her fever, took the blow, and is still in the ditch today. It was the right decision. Marta digs, lift, turn, throw, repeat. Her hands were a pianist's hands 6 weeks ago, and are now something else entirely. Blistered, then calloused, then cracked, healed wrong, cracked again. She counts in her head because counting keeps her mind from going to places she cannot afford to visit during working hours. Noon. Lunch, thin soup, cabbage or turnip or beet leaves, depending on what is available, ladled from a barrel into a bowl she shares with 3 other women in rotation. The bowl passes from mouth to mouth. Marta eats standing in the mud. She finishes in under 2 minutes and holds the empty bowl and feels the particular cruelty of it, the hunger that eating almost nothing stirs rather than quiets. Her stomach cramps every day at noon, her body having learned to expect food at this hour, now activated by that small amount into a state of want that is worse than simple emptiness. A woman from another block stares at her bowl. Her face still has some fullness to it. Marta looks away. The woman will learn. Afternoon, 5 more hours. The woman working beside her is named Esther, a schoolteacher from near Debrecen. 3 weeks in the same barrack. Fragments of a life exchanged in whispers over the course of shared shifts. Esther has a daughter. Where the daughter is, neither of them asks, because there are questions in Auschwitz you do not ask. What Esther whispers this afternoon, showing the edge of it without taking it from her pocket, is that she found a potato peel near the ditch this morning. This is not a small thing. Prisoners have been sent to the punishment block for picking up potato peels from the mud. The punishment block at Auschwitz I has standing cells, spaces so tight that 4 prisoners can barely fit inside them upright for days at a time. Other cells are designed for near-complete darkness and almost no air. These are not rumors. They are documented in survivor testimony and confirmed by the physical structures that still exist today. Esther knows this. She took the peel anyway. Without a word, she tears it in half and passes Marta the other piece. Marta takes it without a word. That is friendship here, not sentiment, just the quiet act of having what little you have. 5 p.m. Evening appel. The columns march back into camp. The orchestra plays them in. Evening roll call tonight takes 40 minutes. The count matches. This is fast, almost shockingly fast by the standards of this place. Marta has stood through evening appels that didn't resolve until midnight, has stood through one that lasted until almost dawn because a prisoner attempted an escape. Whether that prisoner was caught, she never learned, but she knows what happens to 10 others when one person runs. Tonight is 40 minutes. She files it under mercy. 6 p.m. Dinner. A small piece of bread, a scrape of margarine, sometimes a thin curl of sausage or the ghost of cheese. This is the last food until 7 a.m. Half she eats immediately. The other half goes inside her dress, pressed against her ribs, where she will feel it if anyone reaches near her while she sleeps. She knows women who traded bread for rumors about family members, women who gave their portions to their children if they were selected for the same work camp, which was itself a kind of luck. Bread is time. A crust is a calculation. The difference between a body that keeps moving and one that finally doesn't is often measured in these these small fractions. Night, back in the bunk. The four women arranged themselves. Somewhere down the barrack, someone is crying, as someone cries every night, and Marta made herself stop hearing it after the first week. Not from cruelty, but from necessity, because the only alternative was to join in. She made herself a rule in week 2. She would not cry. She does not know if the rule is actually helping her survive, or simply something to hold on to. In here, rules you make for yourself are the last form of autonomy available, so she keeps it. The lice begin again. She lies facing the bunk above her, close enough to touch, and runs through tomorrow. Which work detail, which guard, whether Esther's cough is getting worse, whether the bread will still be there when she wakes up. Practical inventory. This is the discipline that separates the prisoners who are still here from the ones who are not. Not strength exactly, not courage, just the specific narrowing of the mind to the next manageable thing. Her mother arrived on the same transport. At the selection platform, a guard pointed her left. Marta allowed herself to know what that meant exactly. Once, fully, in the middle of a night like this one, took the whole weight of it and held it as long as she could. Then she put it somewhere behind everything else, because grief in Auschwitz is a luxury the body cannot afford. The bread is still there against her ribs. She is still here. That is today's only victory. Tomorrow it starts at 3:30. Marta Weiss is a composite character. Every detail of her experience is drawn from documented survivor testimony and historical record from Auschwitz-Birkenau, 1943 to 1944. An estimated 1.1 million people were murdered at Auschwitz. Approximately 232,000 of them were children.